Today I want to give you a quick little video or demonstration on freeing up a stuck wood stove handle. Last couple of years it was starting to act up. Well, over the summer, door wouldn't even close. Literally had probably maybe a 10 to 15 degree move. Pretty straightforward. It just involves popping your roll pin there, your pins in back. Over here you can't really see them. You drive those out, pull the door off, and then pull your handle off. So getting ready for wood burning season. I know glass is dirty, I'll get that cleaned up. I'll show you the quick steps. Don't be intimidated if you guys are new to burning. You can pop it off pretty easy, pretty straightforward. A couple things that'll make your life easier. You're gonna need a punch. If you get one of these, nail set spring punch makes your life a whole lot easier. Get into some tight spaces. I'll show you how that works in a second. But okay. First thing, to make your little life easier, you get one of these spring punch. Allows you to get into tight spaces, nail set, push pins, whatever. So I'll show you. I ran into this the other day. Full disclosure, it's a reenactment. I get it, reenactments suck, but I pulled it off the other day by myself, got it all squared away, put it back together, 15, 20 minutes, no big deal. So, as I said, it's gonna entail driving this roll pin out with a punch and pushing your door pins. I'll show you over here that are not lubed up how this comes out pretty easy. Again, allows you to get down low so you don't have to worry about a hammer missing, hitting your enamel, chipping your enamel. But you look at this punch press, this punch pin, man, that thing comes out like a missile. So again, it'll come out with this. I'll show you over here. I'm gonna take these two out. You can kind of see, let me, all right, got one out. Okay, I should be ready to go. I'm gonna pull this out. We'll get outside and I'll show you how to take this handle off. And again, when last season it really started acting up and literally had 10-15% movement. It was all corroded up in there, so I'll show you how to take that off, get it squared away, and get it solved. All right. Okay, got our door outside, throw down a towel just to make sure you don't scratch your paint. What you're gonna need for this, pretty simple, something like a PB, WD-40, maybe a Croil, penetrating oil. You wanna get that in there and let it sit for a second. A couple of center punches, hammer to drive through. Something to clean out your hole inside. Maybe a round file if you got, you can do a half round. If you don't have anything, you can use a barrel brush. If you guys shooters, you got guns, you can use that to kind of clean the scale and crud. Pretty straightforward. What you may want to do is pull your inside plate first. Makes it a little easier to move around or a little less weight. Over here, make sure your insulation's good on the back side. That's fine. So now, what you want to do, take your Croil, penetrating oil, whatever it is, your PB, hit it in here, let it sit, flip it over on the other side, same thing. Hit it, let it sit, kind of work itself in. The other day it probably took 5 minutes or so. 15, 20 degrees initially, a couple of minutes, you can kind of work it free. It moved a little bit more. Started getting it to a good 30, 40, 50 degrees. And then what you want to do is use your punches to drive this roll pin out. So I'll show you up here in the Northeast. What happens is you get a lot of humidity in the air. Last couple of years, started getting tighter over the summer, just seized up. So probably when it was humid, corroded up, rusted inside. So I'll show you real quick how to drive that out. I'll use a thicker punch to start, get it through. You can see that's already worked its way out from before, but so we'll set this up. It's kind of a pain holding, but too thick, you might just have to finish with a smaller punch. Just be careful, don't nick your enamel. You don't want to chip your paint. Come out, boom, drops out. All right. Simple roll pin. All right, that'll pull your handle off. Straightforward. You just have a spring in there, followed by a washer. Now again, once that starts to loosen up a little bit, it's going to be pretty corroded up, just rust and gunk in there. This is going to come out quick because, like I said, I took it the other day. But when I had it the other day, you have to give it a couple of shots with a hammer. Set your punch on there, a couple of whacks, free it up, a little more penetrating oil, 5-10 minutes, and you'll be able to start driving that out. You know, once it comes out, which it will. As I said on mine, it was all corroded up. This is nice. Now I took it down, threw it in a vise, hit it with a disc sander. I'll show you that. I'll run down. Just be careful when you're doing it. You don't want to grind too much off, but you can use a steel wool. You can use a file, a little sandpaper. But I'll show you down there in the garage what that looks like. And we'll come back, we'll throw it back in, throw some anti-seize in there, and get you squared away. All right, we'll stick it in the vise. Now, there's a couple options. If you guys don't have a vise at home, you can use a C-clamp, stick it on a bench, whatever. Just get a good solid footing. I'm going to use the grinder. Quick floppy gator disc on here, but I said you can use sandpaper, go across. You can use steel brush. You can use a brush on a drill if you want. Any types of files you got to kind of hit it. Just make sure you don't want to take too much off, flat spots, get it out around. But I'll just show you real quick. Like I said, I cleaned this up nice. This was scaled up pretty good the other day. If you're gonna grind, throw on your glasses real quick. Nobody ever does, but you don't want to get anything in your eyes. And if you're gonna grind as well, just some safety. Remember, your grinders, they should always have your handle on it. Mine doesn't, but do as I say, not as I do. Make sure you put it down on that's called your foot. Always leave that grinder with the foot up. You don't want it down when you plug it in. This thing's going to take off on you. So put it with your foot up. Especially when you grab, be cognizant of the paddle. So plug this in, get this behind us. And obviously, if you're cutting or grinding in the garage, flammable vapors, make sure you don't have anything, gasoline, anything around you, where these sparks are going to throw. So just again, like I said, you just use the disc, clean it up. So you get the idea. That's all I did. Just went all the way around, cleaned up all the rust and scale off of it. Like I said, if you have to, you can hit it with a file. Go all the way around. Take the final burrs off, cleaned up with a steel brush. Get all that scale and gunk cleaned off. Keep it nice and round. You don't want to create any flat spots. And then we'll go up and we'll assemble it again. Like I said, if you don't have a vise, you can use a C-clamp, wood clamps, side of a table, kind of hold it, and clean it all up nice. Okay, we've cleaned up the pin, the round bar itself. Now it's time to clean up the housing. A couple quick things. Like I said, if any of you guys shooters, 2A guys, you can use kind of like same thing like you're cleaning a barrel of a gun. Quick patch method. Kind of run it through first. I'm just going to run through to get all the lube I had out of there earlier. Run that through. Then to clean, you want to clean the scale as well. These are just some saw files. Round file you can go through. Just get through. You'll see how much gunk you can pull out of here. The other day it was dropping out. Tap your file, clean that out. If you want to use your barrel brush, you can use that. If you have one laying around, clean up the scale as well. Or if you had a half round file, you can use that as well. Clean that up. Run another patch through kind of to just clean it up, and then we're going to lube it. Probably the most important thing about this, if you can remember, even if you guys are new to burning, you only have a season or two under your belt. I was lucky. I probably got 9-10 years before this started seizing up. What I would suggest is when you put this back together, anti-seize. This stuff is this is the copper stuff. So I think this is rated to 1800 degrees. If you got the nickel, if you can find that, that's better. I think that's high temp, 2400 degrees, 2600 degrees. But do yourself a favor, put some anti-seize on here, lube it up. And principle behind anti-seize, what it is basically just graphite. Graphite suspended in some type of lubricating grease. It'll get hot, it'll end up burning off, but that graphite will kind of bond and get down into the pores on this metal, in this stock. and provide a nice, good lubricant to keep it from corroding up on you again. So, a little amount on there. Get it all squared away. I'll work it in. It's nice. Pretty straightforward. Now it's just the reverse order. Put your washer on there. Biggest thing is going to be trying to line up your holes in there. You see it? If you want, you can put a little bit of lube on the pin to make it go through a little bit easier. You'll see one side should be detented a little bit. Already depressed. I'll start with that side and push it back through. You'll hear it if it's not. Okay, it's gonna be flush on one side, short on the other. If you ever have to go back in, that side you start with makes it a little easier on yourself. Nice, work it right around. Boom, you're all set. You should have no problems. It'll keep it nice and lubed. Note on this. If you guys are new to burning, just got a stove, maybe a year or two old, I would suggest, if you can, pull it off. Try and, I don't know how it came from the factory. Last year or so, I really roasted the stove, overfired it, and warped this plate. Ended up snapping this bolt off. So that's gonna be a little bit of a headache for you. If you got a tap and die set, you can re-tap it. If not, you got a machine shop around you can take it to them and they'll drill it out and re-tap it for you. But that's what they did here. I didn't have a tap set around, so 20 bucks it cost me to buy probably been 40 or 50 bucks for a decent tap set. I took it to them, they did it. A dozen donuts, some coffee, and 30 bucks later I was set to go. But what they did do, which made my life easier, they must have put some anti-seize in there. So now this year, a year and a half later, when I had to pull this off for this issue, it popped right out, no problem. I'm not sure what the torque is on that, but I'm just keeping it kind of tight so it hangs. So we'll go back, we'll throw it on, and wrap it up. All right, so we're ready to set this back on. Pretty straightforward, just set it in. Threw a little bit of anti-seize on there. High temp stuff. One, it drops down in there. All right, two. Boom, drops in nice. Look at that, see? Just like now. Spins right around, no problem. So, hopefully you don't encounter that. If you do, don't be intimidated. You hear all kinds of guys saying, I'm gonna start drilling these things out. You don't need to go that route. Center punch, pull that out. You get yourself one of these, spring punch. We'll shoot these things out like a rocket. Pull it out, take it off, clean them up, and you should be good to go. Hopefully you'll have another 8 or 10 years, no problems. If your handles start loosening up, maybe a little blue Loctite in there, keep that nice and tight, you should be good to go. So, if you already knew about it, carry on. If not, some of you guys newer to it, maybe it helps you out. Gives you a little insight. I know the stove companies, you'll pay an arm and a leg, but it's a pretty straightforward fix, 15, 20 minutes, let it soak. You should be good to go. All right.